is on the minds of many Americans. And there's a lot of talk about debt. Think about, you have auto loans, student loans, credit cards, you have mortgages. I mean, the stuff stacks up and it can create a lot of stress and overwhelm. And then as a small business owner, you could be noticing right now in your industry a lot of hesitation to buy your services or your products. And then as someone that supports small business, you could be hesitating to want to buy because things are tight right now with money. And so I get it. And I get the situation we're in. It's a lot of pain right now, but it's figuring out where can be some opportunities for making changes and to, as I said with this show, to have hope. That's so important because when you're not seeing the results, if it's years go by, decades go by, hopelessness sinks in, and that is something I do not want for Americans. There's a lot to be hopeful for because of our capabilities as human beings. We have the abilities to make these changes, and I do not buy into this narrative that America is inevitably doomed to collapse. We can make a change here, and that is where America's future is a small business renaissance. And this group is a determined group in this movement that is growing, and you absolutely can take that to the bank. Going to put in the effort, and through your help, this movement is going to continue to grow. So welcome back to the show. Let's get into it. I'm live. This is the first week going live, another night going live. I'm fired up for tonight. I'm just feeling it right now. So please share your comments or questions that come up, thoughts, what you disagree with, what you're like, that's ridiculous. I'm into here to be able to read it all for tonight as we get into this, because, all right, there's a lot to get into. And so I want to set the stage again, going into a specific industry relating. So this is the housing industry, and I want to go into a specific area in the housing industry, builders, talk about that. I'm going to talk about some players, what could be some opportunities for small businesses. If you are in this industry, I want to hear from you or read the comments from you, and learn what is going on here. With the information that I share tonight, what is resonating, what makes sense, what needs to be corrected. I want to read it. I keep saying hearing as if we're calling in live. That might be another thing that we might do is I think about this for the show together. Yeah, I might be doing some call-ins. That is an idea. I'm going to remember that one. But the first thing that jumps out to me, it just happened recently, was President Trump talking about a 50-year mortgage idea, which I don't know about you, but I don't want to have to deal with a 50-year mortgage. The potential of um, having to have debt for the rest of your life. I know for me, because I've experienced that personally as a small business owner, you get the messaging about debt, whether or not to use debt to your advantage. And I am more and more, as I've been in this for over the years, as I said, over 10 years, I more lean towards avoiding debt where I can and being able to have more cash. And that goes into this small business renaissance. As the focus is on less debt, more cash, and creating then more opportunities. But hearing that, I was just like, no, no. So that came up. But how the housing industry came up was when I heard a conversation between Patrick David and Bill Pulte, who is the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, or FHFA. And he was talking, Bill's talking on there, and he said that there is 2 million lots that builders are sitting on right now. 2 million lots. So you think about this affordability with housing, and this is coming up a lot, but there's 2 million lots. What's going on here? And so he was getting into it a little bit more for why that is, and it's like incentives keeps coming up, and I'll share a little bit of a little bit of more information about that for what was talked about. But I was thinking back to, like, okay, first, who are the players in here for the industry, and then getting into how is government involved in this? That's really important to know. Government involvement. Where are there opportunities for more efficiency? And then getting into understanding what are the different, because you got like single family homes, multifamily homes. So getting more into that information was really helpful for me. But even actually before all that, I got to pause here because I didn't even explain what really pissed me off. So this lit a fire for me inside at the core for this mission of America's future is a small business renaissance, because I do not buy in this narrative that America is ultimately or inevitably doomed to collapse. But this came up, and it was back in 2016 for the video. It came from the World Economic Forum. And I realized, I'm like, man, I have been programmed, and most likely you've been programmed over the last few years to get into this renter society, this idea of renting everything, right? You could experience that like with subscriptions, digital programs for your business, then just yeah, I think of streaming services. Like things are like renting is becoming the thing, and it's growing. And so I saw this video. It came back up recently for me, where it was like 8 predictions for the world in 2030. And if you don't know what the World Economic Forum is, it's like think about this the ruling class leaders, the billionaires all coming together, these different major global corporations, and then different ruling leaders coming together for well they come to this conference in Davos. You may know about that for the conference, but the organization is a big organization by itself, but then that's where all these other people come together, is at this conference. But there was a video for the predictions, and the first thing that came out where I was just like, what? You just felt this like, ugh, like it was a weird feeling. I'm like, what do you mean by this? And the first one was saying you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. This goes in line with capitalism, of what this battle with capitalism, socialism, communism, but this talk of like you'll own nothing, you'll be happy, and talking about renting, everything. But how I take that is I'm like, wait a second. I mean, this is you're going it's this path towards the abolish of private property, which then how can you not, I'm just speculating here, how can you not then relate that to this idea of socialism as the appetizer to then communism? Like that doesn't make a lot of sense. That was where I was like, okay, be curious and then ask questions, and these are the questions I'm asking. It's like, how does that make sense? That it doesn't connect in some way, because I think about capitalism. Capitalism is your freedom to be able to decide how you make a living, which includes your ability to own your small business, which again goes back to this freedom that we got to preserve. And to see that was like that did not feel right in my gut. And so it goes back to when something feels off in the gut, you got to explore that more. So later on, there was another prediction that came up, and this is you'll eat much less meat. Judge was like, what? Like, who are you to say I'm going to eat less meat? And this is someone that I used to be a vegan for. I mean, it was over around 5 years, if I remember right. Yeah, 5 years I was a vegan, and then realizing that for me, when I brought meat back into my diet, that really helped me. Actually, it helped me to feel more energized, and so seeing that also rubbed me the wrong way. Of like, who are you to say that? And then number 8 came up, which was that Western values will have been tested to the breaking point. I'm going to repeat that one too, because then it feels like these are connected with the first one, right? With Western values. Western values will have been tested to the breaking point. What does that mean? How I connect that is then back to the freedoms that we have here as our Western values, the freedom of speech, and the ability for us to decide how we make a living, choices, opportunities. And lately, it's felt like we haven't had a lot of choices and opportunities. So that was really what fueled me with this idea of like, you're going to own nothing, you'll be happy. And I'm like, well, let's go back to this American dream here. The American dream, part of the American dream is buying a home, which increasingly is becoming nearly impossible for my generation and younger generations. And there becomes this desire of like, do I rent? Do I buy a home? That messaging is out there online. And you got to ask yourself, okay, is this all connected here? Like, what's going on? But that's more where and I know that sounds crazy, but it's like you start to try to figure out how do all these things do these things connect? Do they connect? And that's where it's be curious, ask questions, and discover that more. And I'm on that journey to discovering more about that. But just I realized as a small business owner and over the years learning from others that kept coming up. Is like, do you rent? Do you reinvest more into your business instead of buying a home? And so that's been coming up. But then I think back to what it means to have a home, to be in a home, to be in a place that is yours. And that's something that, you can think about for yourself. If you have a home or if you don't, or it's something you desire, it's like, man, if I take a moment and I reflect what it's like to be able to build a custom home. Let's just say from scratch, right? Well, your dream home. Imagining that, what you have for the layout, for the floor plan, what you're going to add in the interior, the exterior, what materials you're going to use. Like, do you notice that difference between homes that were built decades ago compared to, or way more than decades ago, compared to then homes now? You feel like it's more like cookie cutter, like they're all kind of the same in a lot of ways. And there's just something different when you notice a house that feels like a home, feels not it feels warm and inviting, and there's uniqueness to that home. And when you meet the homeowner, you're like, oh, it makes sense. I see some connections here, and especially as you step into the interior, and it feels like there's a soul. This feeling, like we're bringing our own souls into this home and allowing it to amplify through this home. And I know for some that can be a little like out there, but it's felt like here in America that what's the word I want to use for this? It's felt cold over the years. Hasn't felt that warm. And that goes back to community. Something that we need to come back to is the importance of community. And when you are a homeowner, something that I'm looking towards for the future, there's a sense of a deeper connection to your community, deeper connection to the people around you, and a willingness to want to take care of your town, your city that you're part of. There's a deeper level there when there's that commitment of home ownership that I've learned from others. And right now I'm renting, but ideally in the future there is plans to own a home. Something I do get excited about for the possibility. And so the American dream is not dead. I don't believe in that. But it's in a lot of pain right now. And there needs to be changes that have to happen. And for me, with affordability, there's a lot of talk about free and how government can help out with that, with different basic needs. But I'd rather not personally rely on government for our basic needs, or let's put it this way, rely more on government, because there is those cases of, and I believe in it, of having a safety net, but not something that turns into a cabana for the rest of your life for these different programs that are out there. But I'd rather have more opportunities to support ourselves and families through our work and small business. I'd rather have that happen to feel more independent. I mean, if you've ever lived back at your parents' place as an adult, which I had that experience after hitting my burnout as a small business owner, you know how important it is for then seeking out that independence and having that. And that's something I really want more Americans to be able to experience. And I think about small business owners too. So we got to get into figuring this out. And within this industry, I'm going to set the stage for the players here to get into it. So, on the builder side, you have builders that are more production homes. These are the more the cookie cutter. So, you got four big players here. You got Dr. Horton, uh, Lamar, Pulte Group, and VR. And those are the four, the top four, big four. But when I think of all home builders, when I looked this up with the help of Gronk, over 99% of home builders are small businesses. So it's like, okay, how to create more opportunities? It's for more competition, more market share. What could be those ways to make it happen? And that's where I got into then custom homes, more niche custom homes, affordable custom homes. And so there's different styles that I was learning about. And if you have any more info on this, please let me know. But you have like the modular group, modular. Yeah, there you go. Modular group. I was like struggling with that word today. A modular group. You got the built on your lot style, more traditional style build where you bring all the materials on site and you build it. The modular homes are you build, you have them built in the factory and then they're shipped out for the different sections of the home. And it's interesting there to see what opportunities could happen. But where are some of the bottlenecks? And the one that kept coming up in my research was permitting, local permitting, the challenges that builders experience with that. And it can be a long wait time because a build may, I mean, the where you can be waiting a lot is instead of actually the build itself, it's waiting for the permit to be approved. So there's opportunities there to explore more, but what keeps coming up is the custom homes, that ability to have a home and add your own unique desires to that home, and that makes it more feel like you rather than like this cold cookie cutter style that comes up. And then I feel with that can bring in more pride for your community, pride for the town and the city, and just be able to get more excited too for like the different styles that are out there. I think it's fun for being able to look at the different homes and they're not all the same. So those are the going into the different styles for the builders. And then what the other thing I learned, which was interesting, it was an opportunity here to figure out like, okay, is there a way to privatize this? Because I mean, they've been established for a long time, but I think of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So these are government sponsored enterprises. You could say like government controlled is what comes up, controlled. Um, but they are the ones who back around 50% of U.S. mortgages, and so they play a big part here. And it's wondering if there's opportunities here. I'm thinking about it of opportunities to privatize, or even when it comes to banks, what could be done in the banking industry for bringing back community banks? Because if you look back in history and look at the community banks, is there an opportunity here for small businesses to come back in that way? Because again, I've talked about it more and more. There's consolidation, 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 and I feel like through history, things can come back into the present day from the past in a new way. And it's figuring out, okay, with some of the things that got consolidated in these different industries, is a way for it to come back full circle into coming back into the present day in a new form. So that's another area that was coming up. And then the other area of focus that I'm getting into, I'm wanting to understand more about is Section 8 housing and the housing choice vouchers. Because what I learned there is that there are corporations that are buying up homes, and I think one of them is Blackstone, and then there are companies that are getting into this Section 8, call it a market, where you're guaranteed then through these housing choice vouchers to have the revenue coming in. And so there is what I could see, there was like over 2 million households that are on Section 8 housing, and seeing can there be something done here differently with this program? where again, as I said, I believe in a safety net, but not something that for the long term turns into cabana. So where can we empower Americans for jobs, developing skills? If it's starting a small business and being able to see a problem in their community and being able to solve it, or when it comes to getting into the housing industry and the building, and if it's starting a new uh, custom home building company, or if there's other parts of that industry for the housing industry to get involved with and start a business. I think of even real estate, being a real estate agent. There, I feel like there's other ways we can go about this that could empower Americans and really help to continue this momentum for small business renaissance. So that was another thing that came up. And then there was one other thing I wanted to talk about with this, because it's the other part here, and this is a little out there, but I'm thinking back to, okay, you had the 30-year fixed mortgages that were put in place after the Great Depression, and it's wondering, okay, what it would look like if there was less years for the loan, and figuring out how can there be more ways to for Americans to be able to put a bigger down payment and then less years on the mortgage. What could be done there? Like I'm curious. Like, and if you got some answers to that, it'd be great to be able to read that. But it got me curious. I'm like, what could that look like? Because for me, I'm diving into more of the history of home ownership over the years and how the percentage differences. And I'm looking at, like the 1960s, 1970s, and even the 1950s for when the middle class was the strongest here in the U.S. And then noticing what were some of those things that made that possible to be able to live on one household income, one individual's income for the household, and then just noticing what was happening before that, back in the 1890s. What was that like? And just seeing where in history can we take these ideas and bring them into a new form in the present day. And so that was coming up more because I think about if you have the 50-year loans, or mortgages, 50-year mortgages, or any of these mortgages, you're just paying so much more in interest over time, in the standpoint of like the overall interest. Not, again, the monthly payments are going to be lower, but overall the interest total adds up. So there's something that has to change here, absolutely. And I'm going to take the time to dive into this more for this industry, as I said, setting the stage for you. Going to get into it more, but some of this stuff, there is opportunities here for change, and we got to take the time to figure that out, and then from there take the action, work with elected officials to start implementing this, and being able to continue to with these seeds, not only planting them, but helping this movement to grow for the small business renaissance for America's future. Because we can't be on the sidelines anymore. As a small business owner, I know how easy it can be to just put your head into it's like stick your head in the sand idea, where you're just like stuck in your own world, focused on just getting by, making money, making a profit, making sure that your basic needs are met. And I get it, but this is so important in the time that we're in to make sure that you can continue to preserve this freedom that we have in deciding how we make a living with, and it includes being able to own your small business. And so it's important to continue these type of conversations, because to know that you can still continue to do this and it's not going to be taken away, I mean, that alleviates so much stress in your life. And then being informed and being aware of what's going on in the different players can be helpful for your specific industry, to be able to give you better insights in decision making in your current challenges that you're dealing with. So this stuff is all interconnected. I want to get more into that in the weeks ahead. But I appreciate your support with this. Appreciate you being able to share this show with others, to subscribe, and to leave your comments and thoughts, because this movement, as I said, is a determined movement, and it's continuing to grow. So excited to be able to reconnect again soon tomorrow night with you. Good night.